The Mask of Aderemi. In the heart of Eco City, where the neon lights of Victoria Island blended with the chaos of Balogun Market, lived Aderemi, a woman whose beauty was matched only by the depth of her deception. She was a daughter of the slums, raised in the crowded alleys of Makoko, but she spoke with the grace of royalty and dressed like the daughters of oil barons. From the moment she turned 18, Aderemi crafted a new identity. She told anyone who cared to listen that she was the only daughter of a wealthy cocoa merchant, schooled in London and groomed for high society. With borrowed clothes, stolen invitations, and a honeyed tongue, she wormed her way into the upper echelons of Lagos's elite. She feigned sophistication, dropping the names of foreign cities she had never visited, speaking of riches she had never seen. Her beauty and wit made her irresistible. Men fell at her feet, women envied her, and even the elders of the Aruba Council whispered about her grace. But beneath the surface of her polished lies, the truth lurked like a shadow waiting to consume her. One evening, at an extravagant gala in Ikoyi, Aderemi caught the attention of Chief Olumide, a powerful businessman with a reputation for seeing through deceit. His piercing gaze unsettled her, yet she flashed him her most dazzling smile. He invited her to dinner the following evening, promising a proposal that would change her life. Aderemi believed she had secured her future. What she did not know was that her carefully constructed world was about to crumble. Aderemi prepared for the dinner with meticulous care, selecting a dress imported from Paris borrowed from a friend she had fooled into believing she was a princess. The restaurant was one of the finest in Lagos, where only the most powerful dined. Chief Olumide sat across from her, his sharp eyes never leaving her face. "I have heard much about you, Aderemi," he said, sipping his wine. "Tell me, what does your father think of your success?" Aderemi's heart pounded. She forced a smile. "Oh, Baba is very proud. He always says I was born for greatness." Chief Olumide nodded, then leaned in. "Strange. I know all the cocoa merchants in Nigeria, yet I have never heard of your father." Aderemi laughed lightly, masking her panic. "Ah, Chief, my father is very private. He prefers to remain behind the scenes." Chief Olumide smiled, but there was something unreadable in his expression. "Interesting. And where did you say you schooled?" Aderemi launched into another well-rehearsed lie, but Chief Olumide simply nodded, watching her closely. By the end of the dinner, he made her an offer. A high-paying position in his company, access to his wealth, and an engagement to his son, Tade. Aderemi's heart soared. This was her chance to solidify her place among the wealthy. But Chief Olumide's gaze lingered as he said, "You must allow me to meet your family first." Aderemi's world trembled. She had built her empire on words, but now she needed proof. Aderemi walked out of the restaurant with a confident stride, but inside she was unraveling. Chief Olumide's request to meet her family was an obstacle she had never considered. Her real background: poverty, struggle, and a mother who still sold akara in a rundown part of Lagos was a secret she had buried beneath layers of deception. That night, as she lay in her luxurious but borrowed apartment, she devised a plan. She would hire actors to play her family. It was risky, but if she executed it well, no one would suspect a thing. The next morning, she sought out Tunde, a struggling actor she had helped in the past. With a promise of payment, she convinced him to play her uncle. She also found an elderly woman who resembled her mother and dressed her in regal attire to pose as her mother. Days later, the meeting took place at an upscale restaurant. Aderemi introduced her family with a practiced smile. Chief Olumide was polite but observant, asking pointed questions that made Aderemi sweat beneath her expensive jelly. Tunde, though nervous, played along, spinning a tale about their ancestral home in Ibadan and their late father's empire. Just as Aderemi began to relax, a waiter serving drinks paused, staring at her mother. His eyes widened. "Mama Titi, is that you? You used to sell akara by my school in Surulere." Aderemi's breath caught in her throat. The elderly woman's hands trembled as she forced a laugh. "Ha! You must be mistaken, my son." But Chief Olumide saw the flicker of panic in Aderemi's eyes. He did not say a word, only smiled knowingly. The walls of Aderemi's deception were beginning to shake. Despite the near disaster, Chief Olumide proceeded with the engagement plans. But Aderemi knew something had shifted. His once warm smile now held an edge. His questions became sharper, and he seemed to be watching her more closely. One evening, while attending a high society wedding in Lekki, Aderemi was approached by a woman she did not recognize. Aderemi, or should I say Remy from Makoko. The woman smirked. I remember you. You used to live in my compound. How did you get here? Aderemi's stomach dropped. She quickly feigned ignorance. I'm sorry, you must be mistaken. The woman laughed. Mistaken? You used to fetch water from the communal tap with me. Now you speak as if you've never stepped into a slum? Aderemi's heart pounded. Guests nearby turned to look. Chief Olumide, standing a few feet away, observed the exchange with quiet interest. Desperate, Aderemi pulled the woman aside and offered her money to stay quiet. But the damage was already done. Rumors began to swirl, whispers of her past creeping into elite circles. That night, Chief Olumide invited her for a private meeting. Aderemi, he said, his voice calm but firm. The truth has a way of revealing itself. Tell me now, who are you really? Aderemi hesitated, then fell to her knees. Chief, please, I only wanted a better life. Chief Olumide sighed. A house built on lies will collapse. Prepare yourself. The storm is coming. The next morning, the headlines read, High Society Fraud. The truth about Aderemi's lies. Photos of her childhood in Makoko, interviews from people who knew her past, and even the waiter's revelation were printed for all to see. Social media erupted, tearing apart the image she had so carefully constructed. Chief Olumide's family publicly denounced her, calling off the engagement. Friends she once charmed now turned their backs. Doors she had forced open slammed shut. By evening, her once glamorous phone was silent. No calls, no invitations, nothing. Then came the worst blow. The landlord of her borrowed apartment, now aware she had no true wealth, evicted her immediately. With nowhere to go, Aderemi found herself back in the slums of Makoko, standing in front of the same wooden shack she had once abandoned. Her mother emerged from the house, eyes filled with sorrow. My daughter, I warned you, the spirits of our ancestors do not bless deceit. Aderemi collapsed into her mother's arms, weeping as reality crashed down upon her. Days turned to weeks. Aderemi, once the darling of Lagos high society, now roamed the streets like a ghost. She tried to find work, but no one would trust her. The world she had deceived had no place for her anymore. One evening, she sat by the lagoon, watching the city lights flicker across the water. A wrinkled old woman sat beside her. Young one, the woman said, her voice thick with age. Do you know the tale of the tortoise who borrowed feathers from the birds? Aderemi shook her head. The tortoise wished to fly, so he borrowed feathers from different birds. But when they found out he had deceived them, they plucked their feathers back, and he fell from the sky, breaking his shell. Aderemi closed her eyes, tears slipping down her cheeks. She had flown too high on borrowed wings, and now she had crashed. Humbled, Aderemi returned to the one person who had never abandoned her mother. She fell to her knees. Mama, I have nothing left. Her mother sighed. Then it is time to start anew. With her mother's guidance, Aderemi took up honest work, selling akara by the roadside. People mocked her, whispering about her downfall, but she swallowed her pride. She knew now that true wealth was built, not stolen. Years later, she saved enough to start a proper food business. Slowly, her reputation shifted not as a socialite, but as a hard-working woman who had learned from her mistakes. One evening, a young girl approached her stall. Auntie Aderemi, is it true you were once rich? Aderemi smiled sadly. No, my dear, I was once a liar who wished to be rich. But now, I am honest, and that is worth more. And so, the tale of Aderemi, the girl who wore a mask of lies, became a lesson in Eco City, a warning that no matter how high one climbs, a house built on deceit will always crumble.